Well, Rafa Nadal has done it. Take a look. He has done the unthinkable, never done before. He has won the Roland Garros in the quarterfinals. No, not yet. He's got a tough challenge tomorrow with Zverev. But what he has done is take down his #1 rival, Novak Djokovic. Stop him. Roger obviously isn't getting any closer right now either. But he stopped Novak, who a lot of people thought would win this tournament, myself included. Rafa has made us all look like fools again. And it's not just me. A lot of experts out there picked Novak to win this match and to win this tournament. Why? Why do we pick against Rafa? I don't understand it. I'll probably do it again. Next year, we'll all think Rafa looks like he's injured. We'll pick against him, and he'll win again, right? Of course, he could lose tomorrow, but taking Novak out, I think that locks up the position. A lot of people agree with me. Comment below if you're one of them. It looks like Rafa's the greatest of all time. I mean, he is. He's ahead in the Grand Slam count, and he's going to be a little longer now, it looks like, as well. Who knows if Novak will be able to get it together. I think Novak's very upset. A lot of people are upset. We'll get into that in just a second, but who knows if Novak will be able to come back and win Wimbledon in about a month from now. It's an interesting time in tennis, that is for sure. Like I mentioned, though, a lot of people are angry. Let's start with Novak Djokovic. From Metro, as a journalist reeled off all the injury problems that Rafa Nadal has been coping with so far this season, Djokovic said bluntly, "I didn't see any problems out there on the court." That's what he means. Asked if he was surprised with Nadal's physical condition, Djokovic continued, "No, I am not. I am not surprised at all. It is not first time that he is able to, few days later after he is injured and can barely walk, come out 100% physically fit. He has done it with many..." You got to make your chest puff up. Djokovic has really good posture. After coming out injured and can barely walk, he come out 100 physically fit, 100%. He has done it many times in his career. I am not surprised. Novak, he's upset, and I don't blame him. We got good reason for Novak to be upset. We'll get into that later in the show. Who else is upset? A lot of people are upset with Uncle Tony. Why? Because he's the coach of Felix Auger-Aliassime. Here he is. This is where he sat. He sat with Mansour Bahrami in the front row of the French equivalent of the Royal Box. So, we knew this months ago. He said this is how it was going to be. But he said this. Maybe he went a little too far, some people think. Quote, "Uncle Tony, Felix is Felix. My nephew is my nephew. I wanted Nadal to win. For us, this tournament is always very special." He was rooting for Rafa to beat the guy that he is coaching. Now, I should point out, he's not the head coach. He's one of those consultant coaches that come in and help out with the overall coaching team. It was also reported that Uncle Tony did not practice with Felix the last couple days. He didn't want to maybe see what they were working on for Rafa in particular. And, it's like a conflict of interest. Maybe Uncle Tony would go tell Rafa what they're trying to do. Anyway, so I have no problem with that. A lot of people very angry that Uncle Tony. Johnny Mack, he was angry with the shot clock thing, which I get it. Be angry at the people who make the rules, though, not Rafa. They're the ones letting Rafa get away with it, and Rafa's kind of earned it at this point. I used to... I almost said hate watching Rafa. I never hated watching Rafa, but I used to, complain about how, Roger Federer takes 10 seconds in between points. Rafa could take anywhere from 35 seconds to a whole minute. Sometimes they let him, especially in this match, between first and second serve. Rafa's taking a long time in some of those very long games, which, a lot of big points. I don't think anyone cared. I mean, the match was so good. Who cares? But Johnny Mack cared a little. "He should be penalized. Should be penalized," said Mack. "If you're going to do it, do it. Otherwise, don't bother. It is like humoring everyone. It's a joke. It's a joke." "It's a joke," said Johnny Mack. He takes a look at the clock again. 1, he's edging it, isn't he? Shouldn't they have it at 15 seconds on the second serve? 10? Something? Come on! And then a little bit later after that, Djokovic was booed by fans after an incident in fourth. That's when Djokovic hit the net. And they were booing him, and Mack wasn't happy with that. I wouldn't be happy with that either, Johnny Mack. Oh, let's go to the next page. I mean, cut the guy some slack. Come on. He's out there battling. He hit the ball. He thinks he's going to be a winner. It clips the tape. That's not harsh. That's harsh. That's all I can say. They should be happy he cares so much. This is a great quote from Johnny Mack, and it's very true. "No other player has had to deal with more adversity than Novak. It's unfair. I've got to say that. This guy has turned lemons into lemonade more often than any player in the history of tennis. And if you don't think it bothers him, you're nuts." He is so mentally tough that he can deal with this and somehow channel that anger and frustration over what he feels is a lack of respect. And I feel it is too. He also goes on to say that, I made the mistake of picking Djokovic in 2020, says Johnny Mac. I think I did too. I can't remember what I picked that year. Anyways, no one thought Rafa would win in 2020 because of the conditions. No one thought Rafa, mostly. Some comments below. I'm going to read a couple. There was one comment that wasn't too surprised, just surprised that all of us were picking against Rafa. But Johnny Mac was pointing out that he was made to look a fool by Rafa before picking against him. And of course, it has happened again. I got to say, Rafa, he's the greatest of all time right now. And it looks like he's going to hold on to it for... He's at least going to be able to hold on to it or tie with Djokovic for the rest of the year, right? Because if Rafa wins this, which don't get me wrong, tomorrow's going to be very tough. It's his birthday for Rafa. He's going to be 36, but same age as me. But Zverev is going to make it tough. Do you pick against him? I'm not. I'm going with Rafa. He wins tomorrow, but Zverev, very impressive how he took down Carlitos, who, we'll get into that later. Anyways, Carlitos a little choky in the beginning, a little nervous. I don't want to say choky. He was a little nervous. Very impressive for the entire match. I'm impressed still very much by Carlitos Alcaraz and Zverev. Almost kind of had nothing to lose at this point, where no one thought he was going to win that. It's kind of weird that Carlos was the favorite in that match. If you think about it, if you think about where we were, only a year ago, not knowing Carlos too well yet. For most tennis fans. Anyways, moving on. Somebody else is very angry. Casper Ruud is angry, and so is Holger Rune. Rune. I believe it is Rune. Some people say it without the R. Some of the commentators, Una. Who knows? But we'll call him Holger Rune because it sounds funny until he earns more of our respect. Anyways, Casper Ruud really mad, and Holger Rune's really mad too. What did Holger Rune? This is Holger Rune talking about Casper Ruud's team. The team is really nice and sweet, but then Casper Ruud, he goes straight to me and shouts, "Yeah!" straight up in my face, Dominic team style. And I thought, what the hell are you doing? Says not Casper Ruud, says Holger Rune about Casper Ruud. What the hell are you doing, Casper? You don't do that. You can cheer as much as you want on the court. I do it myself when I win. But that's just a lack of class. He should have more respect. Rune said that about Ruud. Rune thinks Ruud needs more respect. Ruud also said that Rune needs more respect. I don't know who to believe. It's a he said, she said. It's one of those Amber Heard, Johnny Depp type situations we got going on. It's nothing more to talk about. It is a pure lie, says the father of Casper Ruud. Our focus is now on the match against Cilic. So impressive, Marin Cilic. He has a small chance at winning this whole thing, too. In response, Rune's mother, Aneki, told BT, the father was not there when it happened. He had left. It was only the physical trainer or the therapist. It was when Holger was waiting for doping control, because they were getting drug tested. So the father cannot comment on that. This must be after the match. One thing is that you shout in my son's face. Another thing is that the father is lying to the press. Wow. Well, everyone's pretty angry, it looks like, except for Rafa and except for me. One, I'm very happy for Rafa. I'm happy to be wrong. And the reason why I picked, which Djokovic is not too surprised by, I guess, but maybe he did kind of get surprised. Maybe he went out there expecting not what he got. Rafa came out hot for some good reasons. The weather wasn't exactly what we thought it was going to be based on everything we heard before. And we're going to get into all that in today's show. But before we start the music and officially start, I'm very happy for Rafa. And I'm also very happy for one of my predictions coming true. Take a look at this one. Headline, French Open 2022. I don't send my mother away. Holger Rune after shouting leave and shouting controversy. Holger Rune came under fire for a bizarre moment during his French Open quarterfinal defeat to Casper Ruud. Rune was heard shouting leave to his mother a number of times during a change of ends, and then his mother left her seat. But Rune says he was not directing the instruction at his mother, who was up and down on her seat frequently during the night of the match. Take a look at the video for yourself, and you tell me if Holger Rune was yelling at his mother to leave. But there she goes. She gets up and leave. I told you guys something about this Danish Prince of Clay. Something weird's going on with him and his mother. Could be a Hamlet Oedipus type situation on the cards in the future. So stay tuned and keep watching the tennis. It just gets better from here, even without our big three. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. Today we've got a jam-packed, super exciting turbo show of a show. Oh, poor Holger Rune. He was impressive in his match. Let's just get let's get the losers out of the way really quick. Talk a little bit about all that, and then we'll move on to the main course in today's show. We're gonna go through a lot of footage from the Rafa and Novak match, and talk about some of the weather conditions and how they turned out versus how they were in the day where Rafa played against Felix Auger. It's funny because he started against Felix at like 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. He starts against Novak like a little after 9 p.m. when they finally hit the first ball of the match, not the warm-up, after the warm-up. It was like closer to like 9:15 p.m. Yet it was warmer conditions, faster playing conditions then, as opposed to 4 o'clock 2 days earlier when he played Felix. Weird, huh? Weird how that worked out. We heard all this noise about, Rafa can't play in the night, which I shouldn't say noise because it is true. It's not ideal for him, but even the gods are on the side of Rafa Nadal, it appears, because the weather did help out with conditions, at least in the beginning. The fact that Rafa went on and won the match as the weather got worse, the humidity started to go up and the temperature started to drop, and obviously the sun went down, and Novak came on and started playing a lot better, and then Rafa just toughed it out. One, there's a few things how Rafa won. Didn't I just say I was going to talk about the losers first? Let's do the three little things really quick on Rafa. One, Rafa's play at net was incredible, right? So let's say number one thing was the conditions were good at the start for Rafa to get that forehand hopping with all that powerful wrist, that swinging out through the ball but following over the head a lot of the time, the follow through. So the conditions, as Mark Woodford, we're going to play the clip for you in a little bit, was talking about how this court looks cooked, basically, is what he's saying. Very dry, like it'd been a very sunny day. That was the difference. The day where Felix played, and you can see it. If you look at the women's matches, little Leila Fernandez was playing in the morning against Amanda Anisimova. And they've got like the warm-up jackets on, the long sleeve warm-up jumpers on for a while. I think Leila took hers off eventually, after a set. But yeah, it was colder conditions and it was cloudy that day. It wasn't as sunny as it was on this day. So one, Rafa had the court getting cooked, and it helped him get off to a very fast start. Kind of shell-shocked Novak. And then I'm going to get into this more later, but I'll say, I got some comments from Novak's coach, Goran Ivanisevic, and we'll get into it in more detail with him. But, it's important that people note that the Australian Open debacle, getting deported, all that for Novak, if you think about it, Novak hasn't been in a big-time match like this since going back to last year at the U.S. Open. That's a long time to be taken out of the sport. So he has, Rafa's been on an injury layover, sure, but Rafa did play back in January, February at the Australian Open. Big time, Grand Slam, best of 5-set matches, big crowd, crazy environments, right? Novak hasn't done that for quite some time, and the last time he did it, it didn't work out so well for him, losing to Medvedev in the final of the U.S. Open last year. So that's a big deal to me. And I actually, I'm really happy for Rafa. I love Rafa. But I feel for Novak, I'm kind of sad for him, the way the crowd has treated him here. He's going to be gone, one day. And if you're one of the people that hate him, I understand why Novak has made it harder to like him over the years at times. I think Novak's done a lot of things to earn our respect and our love as well. But you got to realize, you hate him so much, he's going to be gone one day, and he might be gone sooner than later if this is his experience on tour everywhere he goes, and especially after what happened in Australia. I mean, I think some players might have walked away from the sport, or at least for some time before they came back, and Goran Ivanisevic points that out in some comments that I'll read to you later. Anyway, so my number one thing, though, was the weather conditions. They helped Rafa get up to a fast start. Number two thing is, as it got tougher. The conditions got tougher and a little more favorable for Novak. It's not like it is magically great conditions for Novak. He's still got to slug through a slower clay court as the conditions get, slower and slower later into the night. he's got to do that too. You know, they both still have to find a way to hit through this court and win, but he doesn't have to deal with Rafa's ball jumping over his shoulder as much. And when that happened, what did we see? Rafa started, you know, he's gotten so good at the net. His drop shot's gotten a lot better. And Rafa used that mastery of the net to win some key points when he really needed it against Novak Djokovic. So that was a number 2 key for me. And the number 3 is why I think Rafa is probably going to go down as the greatest of all time. He has, like I said, it's going to take so much heart if he finds a way to beat Djokovic in these conditions. And he did. You know, maybe it started off good for him, but by the end of that match, those are very slow conditions. So much heart, the heart of a lion, the heart of a champion, the greatest champion of all time, Rafa Nadal. That was the number 3 key to the match for me. Anyways, let's talk about some other guys for a second. That's enough of the Holger Rune and Casper Ruud controversy. Holger Rune did say, first of all, I didn't tell my mother to leave the stadium. That's not why. It was another person. So that's wrong. I don't believe you. It's okay, though. Like, who cares? Like, he got upset. He was yelling at his... I mean, Andy Murray did it, and he had a great career. I didn't like it with Andy Murray. It was the reason why I kind of didn't really like Andy Murray that much all these years. I'm okay with Andy Murray. He still is 1% Andy Murray. Anyways, it's, of course, frustrating to be in my grand... You know, Holger Rune's a little cocky. Listen to these comments. It's frustrating to be in my first Grand Slam quarterfinal and play so much better... play so much below my usual level, especially in that first set. And he did look choky in the first set, right? I mean, Carlos Alcaraz looked better than that. You know, Holger Rune looked really choky in the first set. I didn't hit the balls properly at all in the first set. It's frustrating when you want it as bad as I want it. I love my mother. I don't send her away. When I'm frustrated, it can help that either my mother or my coach leaves so that I don't have 2 people to refer to. She also left at some point against Stefanos to give me ease. She controls it, not me. Alex Correia said, there's a lot of positive things to take away. I like the way Rune plays, the way he moves, the way he goes for it. But of course, I think if someone is in the locker room and tells him, like, what about that handshake? It's like, yeah, they had a not a very nice handshake. You know, Casper Ruud was like, phew. I mean, Casper Ruud put out the hand, and Holger Rune put out, like, the slip hand. It was like, here's the hand. Ooh, slipped right off you. Like Marion Bartoli was saying the other day, whatever she was talking about to Holger Rune. Anyways, you got to say, Casper, you played very well, says Alex Correia. All the best for you. Congratulations. I'm going to try my best in the future. I wish I can be there next time and beat you. But he's young. This is my opinion. He's a nice kid. You see him smiling and laughing on court. Of course, he has to learn. Of course, when he's disappointed, he feels like he can beat him, and that's why I think he shakes hands like that. He did feel like he could beat him. He said something like that before. You know, he said something a little cocky to Marion Bartoli. He said, like, you know, I haven't won the tournament yet, so let's not get too excited, Mom. Something like that about she was asking about his mom, who maybe he will fall in love with and marry, you know, like Hamlet. Anyways, he also said something like, you know, they're like, you don't have very much experience. He's like, yeah, well, Casper Ruud doesn't have much experience in Grand Slams either. I don't think he's been to the quarterfinals many times. Huh? Something like that from Holger Rune. Marin Cilic, on the other hand, let's break out the computer here because I got some stats on here I want to go through with you. I'm going to take a peek at them so I have some reference when we're going through this stuff. Anyways, very impressive. You know, that match between Rublev, Andre Rublev, impressive from Rublev as well. Feel for him that he lost that match. Somebody's got to lose, unfortunately, in these big-time matches. But against Marin Cilic, that match was almost identical. I think it was a little bit longer or a few minutes shorter. Either way, it was almost identical in length, a little over 4 hours to the Rafa and Novak match. Not as many people talking about it, not as many people even there watching it. Oh, obviously, not as many as, but, you know, less than you would have hoped for even for that match, considering it wasn't Rafa or Novak in the match. When Marin Cilic won the U.S. Open in 2014, and keep in mind, if he can beat Casper Ruud, which good chance he does, he could be in that final. To me, that's like a 50-50 match, Marin Cilic and Casper Ruud in the semifinal. Tomorrow after, it's the second matchup. Rafa and Zverev will be first up. So good for Rafa, although Zverev's pretty tall. He's going to need it if he wants that ball to bounce above Zverev's shoulders. He's going to need some fast conditions out there. So it looks like he'll get them. So good for Rafa there. That's going to be a good match, I think. Unless Zverev really falls apart mentally. Could happen. But I don't know. I think Zverev feels like he has nothing to lose. He did against Alcaraz, and even more so now. Should be a pretty competitive match. Maybe the injury stuff with Rafa that we're expecting to kick in at some point. So you got to realize, when I made that pick against Rafa, I watched that match very closely with Shapovalov. I saw what happened at Indian Wells. We saw what happened last year against Novak. Remember? Rafa, maybe you don't remember because no one talked about it till a little bit after. Rafa was kind of hiding the injury going into the match with Novak, and it was that backhand overhead lefty style, jumping, and Rafa landed, and that's what really set off it's like Mueller syndrome, something like that. I can't remember, some foot syndrome, very rare. Anyways, that was what set that off, and Rafa took off like 8 months. He didn't play again for the rest of the year, I think, right? Did he come back at the World Finals for like a match or two? Every now and then he does that. Rafa tends to be a little beat up by the end of the year every season, though. We're kind of used to that. So maybe not. He does that so much, it's easy to think. Was that last year? Was that 2 years ago? Who knows? Anyways, I don't think Rafa played again until the Australian Open or the tune-ups in Melbourne leading into the Australian Open. So Rafa's foot, you got to realize, like, this thing could pop up anytime. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow. And it was just fate on Rafa's side that he was able to take out Novak. So watch that closely. It's not over yet, despite that one graphic I have. ATP WTA Memes Instagram account. Breaking news, Rafa Nadal claims his 22nd Grand Slam title. Anyway, let's go into, this is a big part of how Cilic won, although it could have been anyone. It went to a 10-point tiebreak in the 5th set. Great match between Cilic and Rublev, but this is the key for the entire match to me. Second serve from Cilic is way better than Rublev. Rublev has all kinds of tools that you would need to win Grand Slams. His second serve is still an issue. In fact, statistically, going by the numbers, average second serve speeds, Rublev by far the lowest in the field at the French Open. Out of all the round of 16 guys, maybe a bigger number than that too, but definitely when we get into the second week, lowest speed on average second serve is Andrei Rublev. And then, ironically, this sounds crazy, but I think Casper Ruud has the highest right now, which makes sense. He seems to be double faulting more than usual. He's intentionally trying to hit his second serve pretty big. Let's take a look. So this is what Marin Cilic, who's been around a long time, and remember, after he won in 2014 in the U.S. Open, he's lost in 2017 the Wimbledon final to Federer. He's lost in the next year, 2018, to Federer in the Australian Open final. Great matches. Loved those matches, especially when he cried in 2017. And now he's got a good shot, 50-50, I'll say, to go. So Marin Cilic will have gone to the final of all 4 majors. That's an exceptional thing to do in this era of the big three where no one comes close to the finals usually. No one gets to sniff a final because you got the big three and you had Andy Murray. And you had some other really talented players who are going to keep most of the field out if they have a chance to be lucky enough to not have to play one of the big three guys. So Marin Cilic, one of those guys that's been able to break through. Juan Martín del Potro too. And Cilic has got a chance to go to all 4 major finals. Here's the graphic. Sorry, it took me forever to get to it, but here we go. 50% of the time when Rublev is hitting, and look in the middle, only 3% of the time did Rublev hit a second serve and get a very obvious forehand, right, to the forehand corner. 47% of the time, he would have been able to, move over and maybe get a forehand, but not set his feet as well to really rip on it. And 50% of the time, Rublev's going to have to hit a backhand. And that's huge. That was huge because Cilic's forehand is pretty much just as good as Rublev's. They're a little different, but they're both very dangerous. It's a fun match to watch because they're kind of similar, and they're both kind of attacking each other's backhand, also looking for a chance to pull that forehand. If I keep hitting your backhand corner with my forehand, eventually I'm going to move you out wide enough to step around because you're trying to go back to my backhand cross court, step around and pull that thing inside in, straight up the line into your forehand corner, but you're too far away, and it's a winner. So you would see them trying to do that to each other, and sometimes it wasn't good enough, and they'd get over there and hit a forehand into the open court for a winner. Fun match to watch them jockeying like that. But this is the key stat to me, how Cilic was able to just bury Rublev in that corner on his backhand. And backhand to backhand, Cilic is a better backhand than Rublev, I think. At least in this match it was. I mean, Cilic was really good. Cilic served very well, exceptionally well. What else do I have? Some more stats for you in here. This just goes to show you that sometimes, I know Rafa gets way back and it works for him, but sometimes the best thing to do is just take a little time away from your opponent on that first serve and move in closer. Rublev able to win that 4th set. So you see how Rublev moved up about almost 2 meters closer to return that first serve, which most people would think like, that's not going to work, but that is something that works. Something Roger Federer has done so well over the years. against everyone with a big serve, pretty much. Here's a graphic for you. This is Rublev. Just like I was saying, they're trying to find each other's backhand. 52% of the time, Rublev was putting a shot into the backhand corner. But Cilic is always going to find ways to hold serve with his weapons on the serve, first and second serve. The problem, and why I felt from fairly early, about halfway into the match, no matter how it went, I just thought Cilic was going to win this no matter what, because of that stat I showed you before. Anyways, with all that said, let's get into our big one. Let's get into the main course for today, and of course, that is Rafa and Novak in the quarterfinal match of the tournament. Maybe it'll be topped with another Rafa match. Who knows? And Cilic's Rublev match, that was pretty close. Anyways, we start off with the hot start. Let's take a look at Rafa closing out this first set and listen to what they say about the conditions. Mark Woodford, one of the greatest doubles players of all time, right up there with the Bryan brothers. He's on the commentary with, I can't remember the other guy's name, but take a listen.
Closing in on 10 p.m. here, and the court
Almost
is
10.
Still playing lively, in my opinion. Looks still very dry.
Dry, that's what he's saying.
Nadal with set point.
Dry as in it was cooked by the sun.
And you heard the cry of "see."
That's what he said.
Nadal.
It's a clean set, isn't it, of tennis?
It's a very clean set from Nadal.
All right, now we move on. This is the turning point, right? So you heard it there. Mark Woodford saying the conditions were very dry, court's playing fast, ball's jumping up, looking faster conditions, even though it's several hours later start time, like almost 5 hours later start time, compared to the previous match for Rafa against Felix Auger-Aliassime, where his uncle was coaching his opponent, but rooting for him to beat the guy that he coaches. Isn't that great? This is the moment where things start to turn. 3-0. Everyone's thinking we're about to get the bagel like in 2020, but in the second set instead of the, I think it was the first set in 2020. That's out right there. Novak marks it.
Djokovic convinced that's out.
And it is. Here comes the finger.
That's given out.
Finger's up. Now listen to this. Conditions are changing. I'm going to show you the weather
Got into a couple of
stats.
rallies in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wonder whether what you were talking about, just come out to 10:30, are the conditions getting a little heavier? Or has Nadal just gone slightly off the boil?
Are the conditions a little heavier, or has Nadal gone slightly off the boil? Well, they're definitely getting heavier. And he said, earlier you heard him say it's almost 10, and this court's playing pretty lively still. Now it's almost 10:30, so we're looking like 30, 40 minutes later. Things are slowing down, and Novak is starting to dig in and make this match a classic with his response. Take a look at these conditions. This is the humidity, right? It was very low humidity at 7 p.m., 38. 47 and 50 is not that bad to play in. But you see it's climbing, and then take a look at this one. If this match goes too late, I put a tweet out there saying Rafa's got to win this before midnight before he turns into a pumpkin, like in Cinderella. Because, and ironically, I think he won it a little bit after midnight. But look at, if this thing could have gone, it must have gone close to 1 a.m. Beginning of the match, we're going, 45, 47% humidity. And by the end of the match, we're going into the 60s and getting, by 2 a.m., we would have been climbing into 70% humidity. That's going to slow things down. But more important than that, especially here, is take a look. This is the weather there, right? 8 p.m., 67 degrees. You see the sun. It was sunny all day, no clouds. 61 degrees at the start of the match. 64 degrees at the start of the match. And by that point, it had dropped to about 60. So we got the sun totally gone at this point. Temperature has dropped about 4 or 5 degrees as we get over there. And take a look at what it was like against Felix. You see the key there. They start at about 4:30 p.m. is when Felix and Rafa started, because they had a couple women's matches before them. Humidity's on the right side. Not much different, actually. Humidity was about the same. But the temperature is a pretty big difference, considering no sun cooking the court all day, because it's pretty cloudy for most of the day. You see that 6 p.m., the cloud coverage kind of moved away, but it comes back. But 57 at start, bouncing up and down, 57 and 59, as opposed to were at 64 at the start. So that's pretty big difference, actually, considering that a lot of people thought that this was going to be colder than when Rafa played Felix. And that's what I was thinking when I made this prediction, that no way Rafa's going to beat Djokovic. Djokovic looks so good. But here is the most telling stat of all. Take a look at this one. Put this big on the screen. You don't need the weather stats to see what happened. It's very obvious here. And keep in mind, in set 2, Rafa was still, blowing Novak off the court at 3-0. So the first, 3 games of that set. Novak is way behind the baseline. That 36 versus 21, that's probably the biggest one. 16 versus 28 inside the baseline too. But this is what Novak is able to do. And that first set, the ball's jumping higher. It's pushing him back more. He's having to take the ball later. In that second set, he's able to get on it. And this is what it looks like.
By the #1 seed.
Now you see this ball is coming right up to the shoulder, like right under the shoulder of Novak. That one's a little lower. That's a backhand. But when Rafa, that's a defensive forehand. It's still fairly high.
The umpire's having a long chat.
But Novak is able to get this ball either like right at the shoulder or under the shoulder, as opposed to over the shoulder, which is where things were earlier. And you hear Novak in the background. He's complaining about something. I can't remember what. No, here's the guys. You heard that band. There's a
they're talking about seeing
that drum.
If it gets Djokovic's juices.
This is when I was like, oh man, it's over. Okay, now I think it's going. You see Rafa go to the umpire, and this was a big game. He's still got a break there. He's about to serve 3-2. You got to hold on to this. A lot of people felt like I have a great comment. In fact, I'll read it right now from Alex Obed. First, I'll read SLCs, though. SLC 246. No. Coefficient of restitution first. I'm amazed by how many people picked Novak. Rafa has the best record ever at a major at Roland Garros. Whoever's in second place is nowhere to be found. Zverev was probably motivated by the fact that he was getting no respect. Friday's match between Rafa and Sasha should be a good one. You have to favor Rafa, but it won't be a cakewalk. Yeah, absolutely. Could be very tough. Who knows what we're going to actually get, but be ready for a tough one, Rafa fans. Let's just get through all the comments really quick. I only got these 3. SLC 2466. Loved watching Rafa dance to the night fever and get the job done once again on his home turf. Vamos! Alex Obed. I'm in awe of Nadal. This is my favorite comment. I'm in awe of Nadal. This pretty much describes exactly how I felt watching this match. Thought he was going to get crushed by an informed Novak. And when the second set 3-2 game with Rafa serving, you almost felt like it was slipping away from him when Djoko broke, that Nadal was going to run out of gas, and he looked like he was starting to, hitting a lot of balls into the net. Goes on to lose set 2. Then you start to think he has to win the third set or else Novak is going to roll him. He somehow pulls off the third set. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless. Novak was pressing almost every game Rafa served, it seemed. Rafa was holding on by a thread, and yet here we are again, caught underestimating Rafa at Roland Garros, at the risk of looking like fools. Excellent comment. And with that, is that all of my comments from this page so I can crumple it up and throw it away? No, I got Goran in here. Goran Ivanisevic is on there. Yeah, this was the moment in the match where I started thinking, Rafa's got something in his eye. I'm like, oh, man. I think Novak had just, got a drink of water. He's all upright. He's like, goop, goop. They got that little latch on there. It's like, I'm going to screw mine off. But he's like, goop. He looks like a robot. He's got that look in his eye. Novak Djokovic, he's powering up. I'm like, Matt, damn you, tennis genius, Matt. You knew it. Djokovic in 4. Looked like Rafa was going to win. But now it's clearly going to be Djokovic in 4 after he takes his second set. And like Alex Obed said, Rafa's looking kind of tired. The conditions are slowing down. Did I play it? Did they say that yet? Oh, yeah, I did play the clip, or the commentators are even saying it looks like this court. Conditions getting a little heavier. Rafa looking a little tired. There's more bad news, too. I'll play it for you in a second. But where are we here? What do we got here? Rafa's eye. Play this. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you see points like this. Novak's powering up. 40-40. Now, this was a big moment. There was a stat up to this moment. Let's play the clip, and then I'll show you the stat. Just got him buried in that backhand corner. This is by design because You don't want Rafa to hit that forehand. Even though the conditions are slowing, the ball's bouncing less high, Novak knows he gets an easier ball to deal with off that flatter Rafa backhand. There we go. He's inside the court. It's over. Amazing defense from Rafa.
Oh, it was the best point of the match.
Best point of the match.
That was brilliant from both. Nadal's been defending brilliantly up to now.
And it really was. You know, usually, like I said, it's over.
Couldn't get through.
I forgot that Rafa actually wins that point.
There's the reaction of Rafa. Level of importance in this game.
Crowd is definitely for Rafa.
Chanting Rafa, Rafa.
S'il vous plaît, please. So look at this graphic here. Up to that point, pressure points won. 30-30, Novak had only won 2 points at 30 all versus 6 for Nadal, or 4. At 40-40 deuce, Novak had won 0 out of 13 points up to this moment in the match. And I think, he definitely breaks back here. He evens it at 3-all, then he holds serve. He wins 4 games in a row after going down 6-2, 3-0 in like a blitzkrieg lightning attack from Rafa Nadal. Incredible match that Novak was able to come back like he did. And even more incredible that Rafa was able to just gut it out and slug through the slower conditions and just show more heart. And I'm going to get to Goran Ivanisevic as soon as we go through these clips because there's a lot to be said about Novak. Really feel for him. Doesn't get a lot of respect out there. What he's doing is incredible. Anyways, let's continue to play. But you see in points like that, like Novak, he knows what to do. He's working the Rafa backhand just to get a lower ball so that he can try to attack. And when he gets the chance, he's going to go hard at that Rafa forehand into the opening. And that one occasion, Rafa was able to get out of it. I mean, a lot of occasions this match, he managed to win it. But that's not easy to do if you're Rafa. An incredible performance from both guys. Game point for Rafa. We're going right back into this pattern. Backhands up the line from Novak to keep that ball low. Even as the conditions get slower, Novak's still going to give himself his best chance. Same pattern here. He's attacking the open. Rafa overcooks it that time, but you see how it goes. Here's another chance. Next game, 2 games later, Rafa serving 40-30. And right there, we play that one again. You can see how this point is constructed, right? Rafa serving to the backhand of Novak, attacking the forehand there, getting it open, hoping he can get a forehand. And when he finally does get one, he always, he's on defense there. Novak's working his backhand, and then he hits into that Rafa forehand, and Rafa just barely gets over there on his lefty side. And Novak knows defensively almost every time when Rafa's on the stretch like that, he's just going to muscle it cross court as heavy and as deep as he can and as high as he can, because that usually buys him another chance to get back to even and go on to win the point. And you see Novak actually looking for that shot and finishing him with the backhand. That's always been a big key in this matchup. Novak's backhand, was so good in this match. I mean, how many times did he light that backhand up the line?
Just getting
beautiful
some
shot from Novak Djokovic
in this set.
Take a listen.
A forehand and backhand.
Mark Woodford.
Djokovic is starting to lift the sting behind it. He's up 5 kilometers compared to the first set, and Rafa's speed off of both wings down 6 kilometers in this set.
I had a clip, and I don't see it here. I must have forgot to put it in my little timeline I made for today's show here. But I had a clip showing Novak reaching for a backhand up above his shoulders, hitting it short, Rafa pouncing on it and putting it away. You heard in that clip from Mark Woodford. At this point in the match, Nadal serving 3-4 to stay in that second set, that Novak's shots have gone up 5 kilometers an hour on average, forehand and backhand. Rafa's gone down 6. So we're talking about an 11 kilometer an hour swing here. And I'm going to take you back to that one graphic one more time. This is why. Novak, when he has to go back, you got to let that ball, he's got to back up because that ball's going to jump. He's got to let it fall down a little. And you're just in a weaker position to attack. You're usually having to move back really fast. You're not setting your feet quite as cleanly. And then on top of that, Rafa's taking time away from you, and you're losing time. You can't take the time away from Rafa by taking the ball earlier. No surprise to me that his in that set, his average speeds are going up, because you see in the second set, he's able to step in and put some weight behind that ball much more frequently. Anyways, a great match, and really, that's the story for me. The conditions were still not favorable to Rafa in the end, ultimately. But Novak, despite putting up an incredible fight, Rafa put up a better fight. Yes, it is fair to say they haven't played on a hard court or at Wimbledon in a while now. 2018 was the last time at Wimbledon. Great match, though. But, you know, these things happen where a little good luck or bad luck goes one way or the other. In 2018, they had to stop playing because of a rule where there's a noise ordinance. They couldn't play as late as they did because they closed the roof to play later as the sun went down in that night match where Rafa, you know, it looked like he was going to be able to get another win against their 2-2. They're so even right now. I think their head-to-head is Novak's ahead by like 1 or 2. Rafa has one more. They're dead. I think he's ahead by 1. Rafa's just down by 1 now. And Novak has one more win on clay against Rafa. They have identical wins. Like, I think they both have, you know, it's like 20 wins on clay for Rafa, 20 wins on hard court for their respective favorite surfaces. They have identical number of wins, and I think Novak has 8 losses to Rafa on hard court, which hasn't happened since 2013 on a hard court. Wow. So Rafa doesn't want to play Novak on a hard court again, most likely, unless it's a couple places where he could beat him, maybe like Indian Wells. But 9 losses on clay for Rafa. So Novak's got like 1 extra win on the clay. Otherwise, they would be even when you compare their hard court versus clay records, and they're 2-2 on grass. So, I mean, that's as close as it gets. If Rafa finishes with more majors, I think that's a little better than Novak had a win or 2 more, counting all their matches played across the entire ATP Tour versus Rafa's got a couple more majors. I think that will seal the deal and make him the greatest of all time, even if Novak is slightly ahead still when they both retire in the head-to-head. Anyways, we're going to get out of here, hit the music. We'll be back tomorrow with a Beer Hall Freitag birthday bash for Rafa edition of the show. So do comment below any questions you have, anything interesting. I'm going to be spending more time going through comments than usual because tomorrow is Beer Hall Freitag. We're going to have great beers on tap and a giant glass for me. Huge. Monstrous. Very excited for tomorrow. Anyways, let's read Goran Ivanisevic really quick because I wanted to get to that. Like I said, I feel for Novak. Did I finish saying the thing about the Wimbledons? Like in 2018, they had to come back the next day and play with the roof closed, which definitely favored Djokovic. You know, sometimes things work out. It really worked out in the Australian Open this year for Rafa when Novak got deported. You know, one of the best things to do if you want to win a tournament is have your top opposition deported out of the country. That always helps. That was really unfortunate, and Goran Ivanisevic basically talks about that here. People must understand it is not easy to prepare for something you do not know if you will be able to play. Before Monte Carlo, I didn't even know if he could compete. Remember, at the time, we didn't know earlier in the year if Novak was going to be allowed to play the French. He was going to be allowed to play any of these tournaments. And that definitely challenges things. Yes, you can argue that Novak should have just got a vaccine, but was it really that big of a deal that you had to throw Novak out of the country because he's, kind of weird about his diet and what he puts into his body? It was no surprise that he wasn't going to want to go for that. Novak Djokovic was never at risk of something horrible happening to him from the COVID, and clearly the vaccine is not stopping people from spreading it to other people. Even the double, triple boosted out there still able to get and spread das COVID. Anyways, people must understand it is not easy to prepare for something you do not know if you'll be able to play. Before Monte Carlo, I didn't even know if he could compete, not creating the right incentives to train at the best. Then he got too sick. In my opinion, he should never have gone to Monte Carlo. He wasn't good at the energy level. So Djokovic was getting over the flu, or maybe something else. I don't know. Later, Belgrade helped him. He was improving game by game. In the final against Rublev, he had an energy block. Trust me, that was rough because he hadn't played in a while. He'd gone through a lot of long, brutal matches before he played Rublev. That definitely hurt Novak when he lost to Andre Rublev there. 95% of people would never have returned to tennis if Australia had happened to them. He was able to come back in just a few weeks. Up to Madrid, we saw a completely different Nole. The match against Alcaraz was phenomenal. Novak almost won it. Everything was decided on just 2 or 3 points. Very true. In Rome, we only had the confirmation that we received. In Madrid, it was important that he arrived in Paris feeling his best. And obviously, we think the guy's invincible, Novak Djokovic. We think he's going to win everything after last year. But he's not. He's human, and that's what makes him and Roger and Rafa so very special. What a thrill it is to watch all 3 of them. Have some respect out there for Novak Djokovic. You know, maybe we should all feel for him a little bit because what he's been through this year, not the best way to come into this crucial when it comes to the GOAT race. This is the biggest tournament yet, in the story of the big 3, at least for Novak and Rafa. crucial to come in feeling your best, and pretty much impossible, as Goran Ivanisevic pointed out, to do that with all that Novak has been through and will continue to go through. Who knows what's next? Is he going to be allowed to play at the U.S. Open? We sure hope so. Be back tomorrow. See